All right. How we doing? Great. Obviously excited to get back into Autzen this weekend, get to play a really good opponent. Obviously, they're really talented across the board and have had a lot of success over the last several years. Certainly a really good team and a good challenge for us. Had a good work day this morning to start and excited to get to it.
Start on the right here with Zach.
You guys talked about going to the doctor on Sunday. What was that like yesterday, and what do you think the mindset of this team is going forward?
Yeah, I thought our guys had a really good work day today. They certainly attacked things and appreciated things that we got to improve, so they handled it the right way.
What did the film tell you about maybe some of the offensive line deficiencies?
Yeah, we didn't play well enough, and there were some, miscommunications that we had to clean up, but certainly room for improvement, but they know that they didn't play to the standard that we want, and we can be better there.
On the right, Chris.
Yeah, what are your thoughts just on how the pass rush performed on Saturday, and what more would you like to see from that group?
Yeah, I thought it was good at times. We got hurt on some screen games, so, the ability to retrace and recognize that would be, improvement and something that we're really working on, but I thought you saw some good pass rush from us.
Front left, James.
When penalties were an issue on the O-line all of last season, I'm sure you guys harped on it all offseason, Dan. At what point, what threshold does accountability have to include playing time for some of that?
Yeah, it does when you have people that are better that can perform and have proven that they're accountable as well, right? So you put the best on the field that are accountable and proven that they can do it at the right level. And when you have that option, that's when you certainly can do that.
Back right, Brett.
Coach, you talked a lot about the growth that this team could learn from, obviously, last weekend's game. What did you learn from watching the film, and what do you think you guys can improve upon before moving into this next weekend's game?
I think there's a lot of nuggets. I mean, you go back and you look at the overall game, and you're winning in a lot of categories. The categories we really didn't win on were situational football and the way we ran the ball, right? So when we had the ball twice before 2 minutes, before half, we didn't score. Had an opportunity to kick, didn't make the kick. Didn't score in the middle eight. Generally that's been something that we've done, well. That offensively, defensively gave us some explosive plays, even on limited possessions. But we had 87 snaps, they had 48 snaps, right? So you had the ball a lot more, but we weren't creating the explosives that turn into, positives. So finding ways to do that. A lot of that comes with, effort to the ball, finishing, proper mechanics, but. You look at it and you study those pieces. How do we create those things? And then you attack it and you build your practice plan around that as well. A lot of the things we saw that were places for us to improve, those are exact things that we worked on today.
Near the back on the left, Garrett.
How do you feel like the in-helmet communication went? Where do you feel like you can continue to improve on that when the season goes on?
Some good, some bad, and I think that's the way these games have to work, right? You have to learn from it and figure out, okay, what's really effective, what's not. But there was some positive from it. Some things where it really helped us, allowed us to get in and or out of good looks. But then also there were some times that it wasn't effective enough, and we need to do a better job of utilizing that.
For Johnny, what are some of the difficulties of being a right tackle for a right-handed quarterback to then being a right tackle for a left-handed quarterback and covering the blind side? Some of the intricacies that maybe the common fan might not think about.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just said it, right? There is a difference. But ultimately, you're trying to keep the pocket clean, and the pocket, unless it's a movement pass, it's not going to be in a completely different place. But there's some things there that make it a little bit different as far as where, players will step up and where, the depth of the pocket, what that looks like. But generally, it still is very similar in position.
Left here, Eric.
Yeah, I think this is the best running back I've seen since I've been here. He's certainly an NFL guy, and he doesn't go down on first contact ever. He's one of the best stiff arm guys that we've gone against. He runs really, really physical, and then the next guy they brought in ran for 100 yards too. So it's a really powerful rushing attack. Their offense does a lot of good things to scheme you up, and they have compliments off of each play, right? So a great stretch play is going to have a great boot play action off of it as well. So they hold you accountable. They make you tackle. They're going to make DBs tackle. They do a really good job of that, and the back certainly is a big piece of their success.
Front left, James.
How much does the familiarity with Tosh and Dirk Cutter having worked together, and both Tony and their DC having worked together, how much does that help do you think? And I mean, obviously it works both ways, but how much?
Yeah, that's what I'd say. I mean, I think it helps with a familiarity, but it certainly works both ways, right? So, Dirk's been a really, successful coach for a long time, and he has basically every bag of tricks or every play that you can have, in your repertoire, he has it. But having some familiarity with each other, I think, certainly helps, but it goes, both directions when it comes to that.
Back left, Matt.
Talked about more explosive plays. Dylan talked about the same thing on Saturday. How much of it was him not making the correct read? How much of it was taking what the defense gave because it wasn't there?
Yeah, I'd say none of it was really him not making the right read. I think we took a shot early in the game down the field, and then they stopped playing that coverage that gave us the opportunity to take that shot. We called a lot of shot plays. They played over the top, so I think Dylan made the smart decision with where he took the ball, where he got to the ball. And you don't go 41 to 50 passing if that's not the case. So he did a really good job of making decisions on where he could actually go with the ball, given the opportunity. They just eliminated some of those opportunities to take those shots. I think more of your explosives are going to come whenever you do catch the ball in space. Who's going to break a tackle? Who's going to go cover up on the block downfield? And those are the things that we got to do a better job taking care of, and then being able to run the ball more effectively.
On the left, Eric.
Both Bedford and Gary were listed as questionable, and it looked like they went through warm-ups and at least were in uniform. Are you optimistic that they could go this week?
Yeah, I am.
Right here, front left, James.
Run defense was obviously really good last season, Dan, but in the losses, it was a tougher go, and obviously that was a good O-line in those games and the like. This is a pretty good O-line. You mentioned their running game. When you went about corrections in the offseason, were there things that you guys noticed in terms of execution in particular, more than just the caliber of the opponent, that led to some of the results last season in the run game that led to that disparity?
Yeah, combination of all things, right? Combination of the technique, combination of scheme, but certainly some things that we recognize that we want to have good answers for going into the offseason.
Here on the right, Zach.
From a bigger picture point of view, how impressed have you been, or what has been your view of the leadership on this team after a rough week one and some of the older guys in this room?
Yeah, I think we had some great leaders on this team. I think it certainly showed up today with the way the guys came out and worked. And I think these guys have a really high standard for what they expect for themselves, again, regardless of results. So I think that all showed up today.
Back left, Matt.
When you're scouting Boise defensively, just what stands out about that unit? What do you like?
Yeah, it's one of the most unique. They do a lot of different package personnels, and it's very unique in how they do it. Whether it's dime and they're bringing a safety down in the box to play will linebacker. They'll have fronts at times that have two defensive linemen in. They have a unique set where they'll carry dime, nickel, base personnel, and they use them in a lot of different ways. Got a really talented defensive end. Their linebackers, as good as we face. He's a known blitzer and does a really good job of creating negative plays. So they are sound, and there's some veteran leadership where these guys really attack the ball really, really well. I mean, they take shots at the ball consistently and make that the difference. So I think they're going to pitch a lot of different looks at us, and it's important to be able to see those looks.
Left, Eric.
Atticus handled kickoffs and plays kicking in the opener. What did you do in camp to kind of earn those responsibilities?
Yeah, just consistency and performance.
James on the left.
Whether it's this week or into the future, once Bedford does come back, what is the decision then at center, and how did Charlie do upon evaluation of line calls and protections and the like?
His communication was pretty good, but just like everybody on our team, some good, some bad, some things to improve. Once we have more people available, I think there is always opportunities to look and see what that lineup looks like. I think there's, regardless of if Matt's available or not, I think that's something you always have to try to create at every position, that competition that makes you better, and having more guys that can play winning football. So we'll see what it looks like as we move forward, but I think Charlie handled a lot of things really well. Charlie certainly wasn't the guy that didn't play, was the guy that didn't play well on the offensive line. I think it was a unit. That's the unit that has to play well together, right? And it takes all five guys being on the same page and executing at a high clip, and he's part of that unit, right? So he has ownership in that. But on the same note, there were multiple guys that didn't play to their standard or our standard on Saturday.
Last question, James.
When you have two former right guards who, over the last 5-6 years of this program, were here, that was their position. When you have them on staff, what value is that when we're talking about right guard position, whether it's the Poncho with Matt, with whoever may be there? What is the value of in general, but specifically the position?
Yeah, I don't know that it plays anything into that position specifically, but their energy, enthusiasm when it comes to coaching their players to be, really talented and to do it at a high level. Those are guys that did it at a high level, and I think it matters to them. But they're good coaches. The two guys you mentioned, Ryan and Dallas, are both really good coaches. They coach these guys hard. Our players trust them. So it's always good having guys like that can communicate with them.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.